Great to see you guys again. We have a real special treat for you today. We have, we're always trying to introduce the viewers out there to new things that you can do there with your running. Last time we talked about some of the trail running you can do with the North Face Endurance Challenge. Today we have something a little bit different. We're going to talk about relay races, and there's none bigger than the Ragnar Relay Group, and we have them there, and one of their biggest charitable partners, Back on My Feet. We have some representatives from there in the house today, and as usual, we have Chris Farley. Chris, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you, man. We had 2 shows in a week, man. This is awesome.
It's a record.
Keep this going.
National Running Week, man.
That's right. Well, good. Well, thanks for having me as always.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's great running season. The weather's been good. Getting a lot of runs, keeping up your 10-mile a day pace here.
10 miles a day, yeah.
Haven't missed one since January 1st, right?
Knock on wood. We'll see if I can get through the. Yeah, I haven't missed one run yet.
So. He's halfway there.
Almost halfway there.
Living on a prayer. All right, Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce our awesome guests we have over here.
Well, today we're fortunate to be joined by Scott Sanger from the Ragnar race. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Chris.
And Chris Hatton, who is a participant, was a participant of the Ragnar race series, but he's here representing Back on My Feet. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, good. Let's get into first. Let's get into the Ragnar race series, and we'll talk about Back on My Feet as well as we go. But Scott, so tell us who you are with Ragnar.
Sure. My name's Scott Sanger, and I've been working with Ragnar Relay Series for a couple years now. I came on board 2 years ago to help promote Washington, D.C.'s Ragnar Relay, as well as our newest relay at the time, Philadelphia. But this year, I'm concentrating solely on promoting Ragnar DC, spreading the word about the race, and getting as many teams and runners signed up as possible for our relay this September.
That's awesome. So this is its fifth year?
Yeah, this is the 5th year for the DC relay.
September 21st, right? September 21st. That goes actually into September 22nd.
That's right.
So a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people haven't run one of these relays, and it's a really unique experience. So tell us how this whole thing works.
Okay. Well, first, I'll start with a little history, get you up to date to where we are now. The first Ragnar Relay was actually held in Utah, and that's where our headquarters are. 2 college roommates out there, Tanner Bell and Dan Hill, 8 years ago started the first relay there. It went from Logan to Park City, which is about 180 miles. And what they devised is an overnight team running relay, where you've got 12 people on your team, and each person on the team is going to run 3 different times. And each time they run, we call those little segments of running legs. Mm-hmm. And each of those legs is going to vary in distance from around 3 miles to 8 miles. Mm-hmm. So if each runner on a team of 12 is running 3 of those legs, that adds up to about 200 miles. And that's what we do in each relay. All of our races start on a Friday morning. We have staggered waves starting for each team, and then everybody runs all through the day on Friday, through Friday evening, through the night, into Saturday morning, and all the teams finish up on Saturday afternoon. So it's an overnight relay, but it actually lasts right around 36 hours for all the teams.
So you actually run at nighttime?
You do run at nighttime. And I'll tell you the first time, there's no getting around it. Somebody on your team is going to have to run at night.
Is there a leg where you can avoid the nighttime run? Everybody has to run at night?
I think everybody gets a little taste of running at night, which for me, the first time I did it was something completely new. I mean, I had done early evening runs, but I'd never done anything when it was pitch dark and where you have to use some type of lighting device. All of our runners are running with either a headlamp, or you can hold a flashlight, anything you want, but you're going to need something to stay on the road because it's not entirely lit. Some portions are, but a lot of times you're going to be running with nothing but the moon above you and no light.
And it's actually, I like to run at night because for me, running the heat can be a little, debilitating. It can get hot in the summertime, it's easier to run at night. So it's not that bad. You get that headlamp. Well, Chris, let's bring you in on this. Well, you ran last year in the Ragnar race. Was it hard for you to adapt, to running at nighttime at all, or was that something you practiced and you were ready for? Or how did that go for you?
Well, I mean, my first leg was at night through the woods, kind of. So I just was scared a bear might catch me. So that kind of compelled me to run really fast.
So, Scott, are there going to be bears on the course?
There may be bears, but we've got people out there to take care of those.
Okay,
Get you close.
So that's great. So there's nighttime running, and so did we talk about like how much running is done on the roads and the trails, and like if you're running on the roads, is there going to be lights on those roads?
Yeah. Some portions at night are lit up, but most of the race there is no additional lighting. You are going through small towns, that have their streets lit up and all. And most of the race is on the road. The most important thing for us organizers is to put on a safe race. So we want to do that by keeping the runners off roads that have moderate to heavy traffic. So a lot of times you're going on back roads. And we're always looking at things such as shoulders, how much distance off the road runners have, because we don't want runners and automobiles to be on the same place at the same time. So it's always safety first. We're always spend lots of time looking at every road, and obviously when you're talking about a race that's close to 200 miles long, it's a lot of roads to look at, but all year long we are working to put together the best, most exciting, but safest race possible.
And it is safe. I mean, you can't miss the orange colors of the Ragnar logo and everything. and they actually have a 64-page Bible, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, that actually outlines a lot of their safety rules and precautions, everything to make sure that everybody does stay safe and injury-free and out of bears grass here.
That's right.
Right.
So let's get back to the DC race here now. Have we? Let's go and get into the route a little bit, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about the route, and we'll ask Chris how it was to run on the route, like right after that.
Yeah, sure. Well, our race is point to point, not a loop. We start in Western Maryland in a really beautiful town called Cumberland. There's a mountain resort up there that serves as our starting area. And then the runners make their way all the way 200 miles, about 200 miles, to DC. And we finish up in National Harbor with a great party at the finish line there. So we've got the route up. It's online now, so you can go to ragnarrelay.com and look at the DC race and see the roads that the race travels down, and also we've got elevation charts so you can see what type of hills you're going to be dealing with. Obviously, up in Cumberland in Western Maryland, it's a hilly portion of the course. So those first few runners on your team are going to be doing a little bit of hill climbing, and then as you get closer to Washington, it tends to flatten out a bit. A part of the relay goes on the C&O Canal, the towpath, so that's relatively flat. A lot of times those flat legs tend to be longer than the shorter ones. We don't want to overwhelm you with both hills and distance at the same time. But it's really a beautiful course. I mean, it's primarily a rural one. I mean, you're going through some of the most pretty spots in Virginia and Maryland. So we're really happy with the course we've come up with.
And Chris, you ran it last year. I mean, you ran that first leg you said at nighttime and everything. But how would you say it was for you with the rest of the route and everything too?
Oh, it was a really, really beautiful course. One thing, they do preach safety, which is an honorable thing. I do commend Ragnar. They are very, very safe. You have to go through a safety briefing and all that. But the course itself was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, going out to the resort, it was kind of misty and foggy out, and just very scenic the whole way. I mean, even if you're running or not, or in the van, it's very, very beautiful.
So you run for Back on My Feet, which that's a whole another story, and you've got an inspiring story, and you can find more information about Back on My Feet at backonmyfeet.org. Yes. And you do a lot of other races other than these relay races. 3:13 marathon PR, right?
Yes.
Which is awesome. Boston Marathon qualifier, obviously. How did this compare to some of those other races, the more traditional races that you run?
Well, It was just back on my feet. They asked me if I could, if I'd be interested in running a 200-mile relay, and of course I'm always like,
You're up for a good challenge.
I'm up for anything. So I was like, yeah, sure. And I didn't really know exactly what I was getting into. Thrown into a van with 6 people I never even really met before.
Wow.
You know, so you get to know these people pretty well in the 36 hours that you're with them, stinky clothes and all towards the end. Yeah, it's just it was really great. It's unlike any other race I've ever run. Because not only are you challenged with the having to run and then stop for maybe 8 or 9 hours and then try to run again, but you're compelled to kind of make a family with those in the van. So really unique experience, one that can be very addictive.
It is, yeah, I agree. I mean, Phil and I are hoping to do it together, and you know, it really is. You know, I've run, you know, college cross country, but in terms of like a team atmosphere, a team sport, it is more than anything I've done, you know, doing marathons, 10Ks, or even an ultra marathon. So I think that's one of the best things about it is the camaraderie and driving in the van together, not sleeping. Did you sleep at all?
Maybe an hour. Maybe an hour.
Sleep an hour in 36 hours, and it is just an amazing event.
But I think that's one of the really great things about Ragnar and the team concept is that you can have ultra marathoners or super serious runners on your team, but you can also have absolute beginners on your team. You know, so the team itself can be made up of a total mix of runners on different levels. You know, it's all going to be fun. You don't have to be a super serious runner to have a great time at Ragnar. I mean, like I mentioned, each person on the team is going to be running 3 times, and each time they run, you know, it's from 3 to 7 miles. So if you're at a level where you can do that, where you can run, you know, up to 7 miles, you're going to be fine. So it works out for everybody. It's really a welcoming race that encourages participation on all levels, I think. So that's
that was gonna be my next question. I mean, I know Chris is in, you know, top marathon and endurance, you know, shape, but like, what is the base, you know, conditioning that somebody would need? Is somebody that can run a 10K basically?
Yeah, I'd say if you can run a 10K, you're going to be absolutely fine. I mean, really, what I tell people is, what you'll find is, it's not oftentimes so much the running itself that poses the biggest challenge, and I'll let Chris talk a bit about this, but it's that 2 things really. One, the ability to run fairly hard for a short distance and then stop, because you're going to have some time while the other 11 members of your team run, and usually on average, I think you mentioned 8 hours, but it's usually closer to 5, or average team. Maybe your team was a little slower. But for most teams, that downtime for each runner is about 5 hours. So you're going to be running fairly hard, having 5 hours of downtime, then running again, downtime once more, and then running a third and final time. So that's a little tricky for somebody if you haven't done that. Most of the time I'll run, you know, in the morning a race, and then I'm done for the rest of the day. That's it. I'm not on the sofa, not back up. But then a second thing, you know, in addition to that stopping and starting, is the lack of sleep. It's 36 hours, and though we say that there's an opportunity for everybody on the team to get some sleep in, what you'll find is that's going to be a challenge, because everyone on your team is going to be super excited the whole time. You're in the midst of this race the whole time, and it's a lot like a circus. So if you can sleep through a circus, you'll be fine. But most people, that's something a little bit new. So that will definitely be one of the things that you find on your first relay. That is definitely a challenge.
That was a challenge for you, Chris, then, was to be able to go run. You got let's bring this up, because you told me beforehand that you got to run the most challenging leg of the
he did 11
race too. You were the anchor man.
11. Right? He was 11, where he did 9 mile stop, 9 mile stop, and then about a 4 mile one. Yeah. So was that difficult?
Well, Not really, because
He wanted to run. He wanted to run the full 200 miles straight. That's what he thought.
I was coming off the Lone Ranger, which is a 24-hour ultra race,
Right.
so I kind of had a feel for staying up for a long period of time and running for a long period of time. So that was kind of like great training for Ragnar itself. Not that I recommend anybody to go out there and do a 24-hour race before running Ragnar,
right.
but that kind of helped me to get my feet wet to kind of know what to expect.
And what's great is that each team typically has one or two captains,
Right.
and those captains know the length of each leg and what each person is going to have to run in advance. We have the course set. We know the miles of each of the legs and how they vary and how difficult they may be, and it's up to that captain to assign those legs to the runners on the team that they feel best matched.
Right.
You're going to look and figure out who the strongest runners on your team are, and the captain's going to assign them the toughest legs to run. Whereas you have some runners on your team that may not be so strong, the captain would normally assign them some of the shorter, less hilly legs. So it works out for everybody pretty well.
And you guys do an awesome job, and you can go to ragnarrelay.com and then click on the DC race, and they have that 64-page Bible, and they also have all the information about the route and the legs, and they actually even, like Scott was saying, was they also show you which are the most challenging legs, and then you can combine them, and then the total mileage and everything. So you can really make good decisions for all your teammates. It's
right.
really, really well laid
So
out.
if you're on a team now, it's about the right time to start buttering up your captain before the legs are assigned with cookies and small gifts. Buy him a beer at the bar to make sure that you don't get stuck with the tough legs.
So you still can sign up. How would it? Chris got thrown on the team with Back of My Feet, but how would you go about signing up a team? Does it have to be you have 12 members ready to go? Because that could be difficult to find.
Yeah, no, that's true. What we find, we hear it all the time, is runners will come up to us and say, "Oh, I'm super interested in doing a Ragnar relay, but I don't think I have 11 crazy friends who I can convince to join me." But that's absolutely fine. You're not alone out there if you don't already have a team of runners in mind to join you. We have a lot of things in place that are going to help you find teammates. Even if you're on your own, you're going to be able to jump on board a team that's looking for runners. You can go to our website. We have what's called the Team Finder function. You click on that. You tell a little bit about yourself, your level of running, to give people an idea of where you're coming from, whether you're going to be wanting to run competitively in this race or whether you're just doing it for complete fun or somewhere in between, just so they have an idea of what you're looking for. And then, it's just kind of a matching board where people are being introduced to captains and talking. And then we have functions. We partner with running stores like Pacers and do fun runs, and those are great events to come out and meet. You'll find other people there that are in the same boat as you, looking to join a team, or if you're a captain looking to put a team together. So it's really easy. That shouldn't worry anybody about finding a team. There are plenty of runners out there looking for additional folks to join them. So
Yeah, and you and I will be at the Pacer store for our mini relay, and it's a good opportunity for people to come out and figure out whether this is a good thing for them or if this is a good fit for them, this relay race. And it's the shorter distances from each store to store, which is between 3 to 5 miles. So that may be a good way to gauge whether you would want to do it or not. But from my personal experience, I like I said, I think it is the most fun you'll have running, because there is so many different legs that you can do. So that then you're off to with friends or meeting people, and it really does. It's really different than anything I do running wise. So I think great event. I wanted to add, we touched on the Ragnar Bible. What is this 64-page Ragnar Bible?
Well, as I mentioned, there's going to be somebody on your team that's going to need to step up and sort of take on the lead
captain
role,
role.
the captain's role, exactly. And they're going to be the person that, like I said, is going to assign those legs. They're going to be the ones who decide is your team going to put any type of serious training into this thing, or are you just going to show up on race day and go? And then you mentioned costumes. That's another key point. We offer a variety of awards on race day for best costume, best team name, best pimped out van.
Chris, did you wear a costume last year?
He did. He can't.
Wiley said I can't wear a costume.
His captain said he could not wear.
The captain said no.
So we talked to Wiley. We get him to approve it. He'll wear a
He
costume.
will not approve a costume.
But on a serious note, there's a number of deadlines that the captain needs to be aware of. When's the last day they can change a person on their roster, on their team? And that's all kind of spelt out in the Bible. The Ragnar Race Bible, which you can go online now and print that down. And it's just kind of a guideline of things you want to start thinking about. You're going to need a couple vehicles for the race. Most teams use standard passenger vans.
Can we use limos?
Yes, you can use limos if you like. We don't recommend them, but I think those are legal. But we can help you with that, help you find discount vans or vehicles, SUVs, whatever you want to use. But like I said, the Race Bible is a guideline mostly for the captain, deadlines and important dates for them to keep in mind as you get closer to the race.
Yeah, one of the things I was noticing in the Bible was the stops and the aid stations and the food that's involved. So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, when you're talking about a race that's 200 miles long and 36 hours in duration, there's going to be a lot of support along the way, and that's going to include rest stops and food stops. I mean, we've got back on my feet folks volunteering to serve pancakes, in the middle of the night, in the morning. We've got a dairy creamery serving ice cream along the route. So there's a lot of stops along the way, a lot of food being served. People are eating constantly throughout the race. Runners are bringing their own food, loading it into the vans, and that's another thing you can find in the Bible is it's going to talk about what kind of stuff you're going to want to bring, what kind of stuff you need to bring. Going back to that safety thing, we require some reflecting vests for each team member to race. You're going to get a couple safety flags that you'll use whenever your team is crossing the street to get into the van and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's a list of items that you want to make sure are in your van, be that additional liquids.
So Chris was mentioning that everybody in his van smelled real bad. So
Toilet wipes.
Can you take showers out there?
Toilet wipes.
That's key.
Yeah, we actually do have a couple stops where you can take showers. These are high schools that have volunteered their shower facilities run. But yeah, it's a long race, and you might want to have some fresh air.
Don't they give you an instant?
Yes, we do. We put together a little survival pack last year that included some air fresheners. But yeah, it can get stinky in those vans if
So
people aren't careful.
there's also a lot of giveaways for the competitors in this group too. You have the medals and the
That's
shirts.
right.
So why
That's
don't you tell
right.
us about what's all the cool stuff you
We've
get?
got some props.
These are actually bottle cap openers here, so you can
That's
crack
right.
that.
All our
crack that
medals
first
come
drink
with
after you're done.
they're very functional. They have the bottle opener in there too, and then. Last year we started a double medal series, so if you are ambitious enough to do 2 Ragnar relays in the same year, you'll get an additional medal for that. But everybody who competes gets a medal, and we have the awards again for best costume team, best team name, best decorated band.
It would be really easy to want to do 2 of these. I mean, these locations are awesome. They have Chicago coming up. They have the Wasatch one, which is your Utah event.
Right.
Just real quickly, they have the one in Washington Northwest Passage, the Great River Relay coming up to Colorado, Napa Valley, Washington, D.C., Adirondacks in New York. Pennsylvania has one. Las Vegas, that's another one, Chris.
Yeah,
I know we missed the race last year.
Yeah.
Tennessee, the Florida Keys. I knew somebody that did that one last year. Awesome race. and Del Sol out in Arizona, Southern Cal. Always a
Napa
great place.
Valley,
And then
can't beat
Cape
that.
Cod.
Wine
These are-
country, yeah. It's like we
awesome
are.
locations, man.
We're up to 15 relays this year in 2012, and we're looking to expand next year. But I recommend for first timers, logistically speaking, it can be a little easier if you keep it close to home. Do this DC one first, get your feet wet, and I think you'll find that you're going to want to do another one. And
Well, Chris wants to do another one. You're going to do that
Yeah.
again this year, right?
Yeah, I'll be this year. Yeah, hopefully we'll put together an ultra team to like a 1-van, 6-man team.
And that's a good point. I've been talking all along about teams of 12, which is the standard almost most of our teams are teams of 12. But we do have a separate division for those slightly more serious runners, like this Boston marathoner here, teams of 6 that we call our ultra division. So that just means that everybody on the team is going to run twice as much as the average team of 12. And what they do is they'll run their legs back to back. So each time, instead of doing around 3 to 8 miles, they're going to be doing around 6 to 16.
And then I think next year Chris probably will try to run the 5 himself. Has anybody ever done that? I'm sure somebody's
Yes,
tried
it has
I'm
been
sure it's
done. They're out there.
I'm sure it
Solo
has.
runners, the whole thing.
Well, guys, we're winding down on time here. I just wanted to thank Scott for coming on here and talking about the Ragnar. The Ragnar DC event will be held here. It's in 4 months from now, September 21st and 22nd. It sounds like an absolute blast. It's going to start in Cumberland, Maryland, and then finish there at the National Harbor. A great place to end the race right there on the waterfront.
Right.
You can have an incredible celebration down there. I know Ragnar knows how to throw a party. They throw a pretty good party. Right
Oh, it was
Chris?
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you have it right there. But in Back of My Feet's an important part of the event. They're a very important charity that interacts with Ragnar, and it's just great that Back of My Feet can be a part of your event, and you guys put on these great events. I can't wait to see it firsthand. For myself, it's gonna be
Great.
should be a heck of a time.
And this guy's inspiring. Google Chris Hatton. You see his story. He's amazing. He'll be.
He is.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for coming out and talking to us
thanks for
about the
having
race,
us.
man. It's been great to have you on and great to meet you, and it's been a pleasure having you on. Scott, thanks for coming on and doing the
thank
show.
you, Phil.
Farley,
Thanks, Chris.
it's always a pleasure, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
And Steve, thanks for directing. Gretchen, good to see you again, and we will see you guys next time on Gotta Get Running. Goodbye, everybody.